three of us who had family from Belarus, we got a driver. You have to have a driver and a translator. And our driver was Alexandra, and our driver was Chaim Bargman, and my family was from Pinsk. So we set out on this journey. I mean, all I can tell you is like the whole weekend all I ate were potatoes and drank vodka. That's it. Because you don't know what you're eating, but you're safe with potatoes and vodka. We kind of circled it, and first we stopped in Lida. We went to the bank so we can get rubles. You exchange your money, and I don't know if you've ever seen rubles, but you have a pocket full of rubles like this, and maybe it's $10. I mean, it's like a stack of rubles, and it's like nothing. It's like, okay, that's 5,000 rubles. Well, you just count it all out, it's 50 cents. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. So again, it was comical. I felt like we were going back in town. As we're driving in front of us, we see a cart being pulled by a horse with a husband and wife sitting there, you know, and she's wearing her babushka. They're all wearing babushkas, and nobody smiles, you know. So we go through Lida, then we go to Slonim, and Slonim is a very interesting town. They still have some military tanks from the Soviet era. And we went to, Chaim knows everything, and we go to see a former synagogue there that was also blown out by the Nazis, but right next to it was the former Jewish market. So you could see the vendors and the stalls where the Jews used to congregate on a Thursday morning to sell their wares. And that marketplace is still there. Here in America, you just see a sign that says, "Welcome to Boca Raton, welcome to Washington, D.C." But they have these symbols, these ornate statues, a boat lady or something. She's like the protectress of the town of Pinsk. She overlooks and she protects Pinsk. There's a town, Pinsk and Karlin are right next to each other. And what happened was there was a rabbi of a synagogue in Pinsk, and he didn't like what was going on in Pinsk, so he opened up his own synagogue in Karlin. And so there was a big Jewish community in Pinsk and one in Karlin. And so that synagogue in Karlin is still operating. And it's Orthodox, and it's separate seating. The women sit in a room, you know, behind. And we went there for Friday night services. And it's run by yeshiva bachers, students from Manchester, England. They did not let Chabad take it over. And we met with a man by the name of Yosef Lieberman, who's in charge of the Jewish community in Pinsk. Yosef took me to the area. He said the Silverman family lived at the corner of Goat and Bath Street. Goat and Bath Street, that's where my family lived. They called it that because, I mean, maybe that's where the goats were, I don't know, but that's where the bath was, maybe the mikveh. So he pointed out the name Silverman. But you have to understand there were a lot of Silvermans. So I really don't know if it was truly my family or if it were descendants of mine, because again, my family left in the early 1900s, and I don't know when that archive was from. But you know, it's an interesting kind of thing, because even in Lithuania, you go to the archives and they pull out these black ledgers, they wipe off the dust, and the signatures in Yiddish are handwritten. And that's how the Jewish people registered their children back then. And what they would do is sometimes if you talk to survivors and they say, well, I have 2 birthdays, I really don't know when I was born. And that's because sometimes it was such a long trek for the mother or father to go to the town hall to register that they would wait till they had 2 or 3 kids and register them all at once. But Yosef Lieberman also took me to a building that he's making into a museum. He's also creating a hotel for people to stay in, as well as a mikveh, believe it or not. But when he took me into this museum, there was no stairway to get in. You had to climb up a ladder, crawl through a window, and go in. I mean, he's in the process, and he would show me some of these artifacts he's putting in this museum. And I walk into the museum, and I see a picture of me. He had taken a picture of me like the time I had been there before, and put it in. It was the freakiest thing to see my photograph in that museum, because I'm the girl from Pinsk.